Sporpus.
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 Well, hey, Max.
Hi, Kendall. I'm gonna read a thing off of Discord that was sent to us.
Yes.
All right, it's Halloween. It's Halloween Madness. This is gonna be a quick one, but we got more stuff coming, and it's the next week is gonna be Halloween, Malapalooza, whatever the word is. I forgot the word. All right.
Alapalooza. I think that was a Weird Al album.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh man.
But yes, the eve of Hollow draws near, and we will be providing you more Sporpus. So this is just a little teaser in the meantime.
This was sent to our Halloween Madness Discord little text channel in our Discord group by someone who wishes to remain anonymous if we use the story, and I'm using your story, so I'm not going to say your name.
You'll know.
But I will read this. It's super short, but it's interesting. So, yo. IDK if you have ever heard of anything similar to this, but yesterday on a backpacking trip with my dad, us as well as a group of 3 other people behind us heard a sound like a giant zipper being zipped up, followed by this weird humming tone for a few seconds. I'd say the whole event lasted 5 to 10 seconds max. The sound was so loud that there is no chance that it was anyone near us zipping up a bag, especially because the people behind us had only one bag between the 3 of them, and they didn't take it off. The group actually ended up turning around shortly after because it scared them so bad. I'm 21 and my dad is 48. We've both been in the woods basically our entire lives, and we both agree that it was the weirdest thing we'd ever heard. This was 10 miles up a trail which you have to drive on a forestry road for 15 miles to access. I've scoured the internet for similar stories, but I can't find any animal encounters or even Bigfoot stories that would describe such a similar sound. The only connection to anything I can make is I took this place like 15 to 20 deep miles in Greenwater near Michigan. Okay. 15 to 20 miles deep in the mountains near Greenwater, Washington, not Michigan, what the hell, man, which is a massive Bigfoot hotspot, and the trail itself has had a few reports. But like I said before, I couldn't find any Bigfoot sightings which reported a zipper ripping canvas sound. I don't care if you share the story, but if you do, be appreciated pointing to stories that are similar, yada, 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 trying to find some answers, and all that. Okay, so I've heard a few stories where there's unconventional sounds and unnatural sounds that are associated with Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
My mind is a Rolodex of Bigfoot stories.
Listen, people, Bigfoot's real, okay?
Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, again, one of my favorite stories is the Cowman one, and he's making all kinds of noises.
Yeah, but, he's talking to the kid.
Which is just disgusting. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Tom Hanks in the window. Ooh. So, one story I heard, and I can't remember where I heard it, it's on the internet somewhere, was, this is the story that immediately was brought to mind when you said, followed up by a weird humming tone.
Mm-hmm.
So a zipper canvas bag tearing sound, I don't know, but the humming tone, interesting. So there was 2 guys, I believe it was 2 guys. They were out doing lumberjack or they were clearing brush or what, I can't remember. As they were going about their day, they were hearing this sort of, they described it as when a big truck would be backing up and it does a
Mm-hmm.
And they kept hearing it. And, they're out in the middle of nowhere. And I do think that this story was also on the West Coast somewhere.
Squatch country, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they kept hearing it, and they just couldn't place it because there's nothing around.
Right.
And eventually they heard it. One of the dudes heard it, and he could kind of track it. And when he looked over, he saw a big old Yeti sitting under a tree staring at him.
Oh, fuck.
So it was like, is this thing doing human noises at them? Or I don't know. But it was one of those stories that always stuck out to me.
Well,
because...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I wonder if, they can mimic sound, right? Like, I wonder if it was just around a logging camp where it's constantly, commercial flatbed trucks backing up and making that noise. If it just figured, like, okay, like that's the
what
noise.
they do?
Yeah, this is what.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it sees people walking around, and that's the noise, the predominant noise it hears. It's like, is that what they do?
Interesting. I don't know. Who knows? So that's one story. And there's all kinds of stories about these things doing weird sounds and noises and whatever.
Right.
The canvas zipper sound, I have a lot of questions. If you're listening, I would love to ask you a bunch of questions, because it's like, how loud was it? How close did it seem? Did it sound like it was far away? Did it sound more like a tearing or more like a zipper?
Mm-hmm.
Could it have possibly been bark being shredded off of a tree? Like, there's all sorts of questions. Could it have been a plane far away? Could it have been somebody with a chainsaw far over the hill or something? Like, like a June bug, Kendall said in a previous discussion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of questions. If you want to come on, man, and talk about it.
Right. I mean, because, like,
for it.
What was the hum, like, mechanical, or was it like an animal kind of hum or human type hum? How loud was it compared to the zipper noise?
Yeah.
Did you confront the other campers, or did they come back and say, "Hey, did you guys hear something weird? Because we're leaving." Like, how did that go down? Yeah, I got lots of questions. Also, why did 3 people only have one sleeping bag?
And 10 miles out, that's. Who knows,
I mean, maybe it was a big sleeping bag. I don't know. I don't camp much, but that just seems kind of weird to me.
What else? Okay, so another story that came to mind as far as weird noises is we have a friend of the show. His name is Lee Warner. You can look him up and go bother him.
Yeah.
And he had a story of when he was a kid, him and his friend were camping in a tent out in the backyard, and they were hearing this tone. Like, I think he said it was like an electronic beeping, but it would be like a tone, I believe. And they heard it way off, and they heard it get extremely close to the tent, and then it went away. And they were sitting there petrified, and they never figured out what it was. Huh. So that was also in Oregon.
Squats country.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Lots of weird stuff. Yeah, there's all kinds of info hanging out there about weird noises in the woods. And if anybody has any similar things, bleep bloop it down there.
Yeah, leave a comment. We'd love to read it, either on the Discord or on this video. Yeah, because that's a very interesting side of this kind of phenomenon that really isn't as prominent as, like, sightings are. A lot of times people just report, like, seeing or even smelling things. But it's...
There's the one story I love about the guy that sees a Bigfoot far away. He's looking through a camera or a scope or something, I forget. Maybe it could have been a gun. And he sees one really far away, and he, like, if it was a camera, we'd have a picture, so it wasn't a camera. And he zeroes in on it, and he said it looked like a nervous guy waiting at a bus stop. And he saw it throw its head back, and it looked like it pushed a bunch of air out of its throat. And then a second later, he heard the tree knock sound, which would indicate that the tree knock sound is actually a vocalization, which really creeped me out.
Right. Which, I mean, you can make, like, a knock noise with, like, your tongue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they might have perfected a way to do that and just make it boom and echo.
So that's pretty creepy.
That is super... yeah. I don't like that visual of just a big Bigfoot head just... Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff's pretty rare, especially, like, the physical, like, the hearing them and the physical encounters are, like, pretty rare compared to, like, seeing them and getting, grainy footage of them.
All right. What do you have, Kendall?
So
actually not much of a gear change. It's also about walking.
Yeah. I got a pretty interesting story. It comes from our friends over at r/True Scary Stories on Reddit. I'm not 100% sold on this one, and I'll explain why after the story. But it's proper sporpus. So here it goes.
Okay. All right.
I grew up in a very rural area. I lived at the end of a dead-end road about 15 minutes from the closest town. I've always been a runner and still am to this day. This is the second week of September. This was the second week of September. My favorite time to run was late in the evening because it was closest. It was the coolest part of the day. So, I'm not that active of a guy, but I definitely do not like running when the sun goes down. That's just... You're asking to get ate, dude. You're just asking to get chased. Because, like, predators track movement, right? And you're just asking to T-Rex to gobble you up or Bigfoot to sideswipe you from the bush. Like, you're just asking for it, guys. Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
I was 3 miles away from home when something changed. It never bothered me to run at dusk or even in dark. I've always been very comfortable where I lived, and I liked the quiet. It's very safe. It's a very safe place. Anyone who's spent time in the country knows how the night should sound, and I suddenly realized it was dusk, and I was 3 miles from home, and I couldn't even hear crickets. Everything was very, very still. Which, so that's
That
happening.
means Bigfoot.
I mean,
That means Bigfoot.
yeah, something's spooking the wildlife, and they know bad juju.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So that's happened to me before, right? I was on a little bit of an adventure hike out in the woods, which is very rare for me these days. And, you know, it was very tranquil, a lot of birds I could hear, and, you know, the occasional bush rattling of squirrels and rabbits and things. And then, like, halfway through the trail, I realized it got really quiet, and I got spooked, and I just turned around and said, no thanks, and, went back home, whatever. And later on, I heard that there had been a bear spotted in the area. But Max pointed out that bears usually don't cause everything to scatter like that, so... I don't know, man.
They'll cause things to scatter, but I don't think they'll cause birds to stop chirping and the wind to stop blowing and all this shit, you know.
It was Bigfoot.
It was, clearly it was Bigfoot.
So back to the story.
Stay put.
Bigfoot.
Smell that?
Stank. Stay put. That needs to be the opener to everything we do.
Okay, go ahead.
God, I miss the Travel Channel when it was like that. Or was that Discovery? I don't even remember. No, it was Travel Channel.
That was Travel Channel all day. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
I took a moment to look around and I started running. Not pacing like I was distance running, but running like something was chasing me. Because I was pretty confident that there was something chasing me. By the time I could see my house about a quarter mile away, it was dark and I was tired. The only thing that kept me going was the certainty that something was right behind me. I took a minute to look down at my shoes and realized the lace had come untied, and I wondered if I would trip and faceplant right there on the road. This constant dread kept building up in me, and I wanted to look behind me, but I was too afraid Needs to be a period there. I remember thinking very clearly, you're being chased by something terrible in the dark, and you're worried about a shoelace? I looked up, and about 40 feet in front of me, I saw myself running towards me in the dark. I made a little shriek, and my eyes started to tear up. But to tell you honestly, I was too damn scared to cry. Whatever it was ran by me in a moment, and after I stood there for half a heartbeat, I ran home in mortal terror. And I mean that as truly as I can. I never looked behind me. I still run in the evenings, but I run at night. But I don't run at night anymore unless I have a partner.
Upon hearing this a second time, it sounds more and more like they didn't stop to tie their shoes.
Yeah, it did.
Like when they saw whatever the entity was, then they kind of stopped for a second. But it doesn't sound like they stopped to tie the shoes.
Yeah. I got that impression from the first one.
The
The first time reading it through, but this second time, and sorry about that loud truck driving by. I don't know why people use my street. The through street's one down, guys. Stop driving on mine. Anyway, I totally. It makes more sense reading it the second time. So, I personally think at this point he'd already run at least 3 miles. He was tired. It was dark, and he'd already gotten kind of spooked, in his own brain about like, okay, the woods are quiet, something weird is up, and like, so at this point, just seeing anybody on the road would probably give you a little bit of a jolt, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we don't know what the guy was wearing. And jogging attire is pretty standard. It's like a loose t-shirt and, basketball shorts, basically. And a lot of times it's, gray and white or whatever. Very, very basic, very common colors. So it may have just been somebody who was wearing something similar enough to what he had on that it just struck a chord with him. And they just ran past him going, okay, that was weird. And didn't think about him being freaked out. Like they were just running, listening to their music and jamming out as they go on their nightly run. That's what I think.
I think that's the most possible.
Yeah.
The other option is he saw himself in the past.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only other option. Like he passed himself leaving that night to begin the run.
Oh, like a Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, when you're on the dark, yeah, you get in your head. I used to take walks around the golf course that we have here, and about at the furthest point, I would start to really get in my own head about things, And looking at it now, oh, geez, I could never walk around that thing alone. But back then, I used to go every night, and every night I would feel the same sort of, not terror, but uncomfortableness at that one end when it was just the furthest point and the darkest point.
Right.
And I was like, why do I do this? I don't know. But of course, behind me, I'd feel terrible. Like, oh God, there's something behind me. And, there's really probably nothing behind you, just the dark.
Right.
But that's sort of, that's the whole thing. That's the scary part.
Yeah, the unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark, scary.
Right.
Dark, super scary. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's a good one. Good proper sporpus.
Yeah, it makes you think a little bit. It's such a weird thing for him to say.
Yeah, that is such a weird little
saw
twist.
Himself
right.
pass himself. It's such a weird thing to say. It's like it's one of the things that's so bizarre. It almost makes me think something actually happened to make him say something that weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like if you go to make up a story about something behind you while you jog, I think the last thing that at least I would think of is to say, yeah, and I also passed myself.
Right.
What? What'd I do? I don't know. It's totally off kilter.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Creepus. Sporpus. Mm-hmm.
And again, 40 feet away, and it passes right by him, and he doesn't really mention any detail on the face, And I think if you were just making up a story, that's when he would be like, as it got closer, I saw the red eyes or the black eyes or the, something really spooky or off-putting. But he doesn't really mention that. He just kind of like matter of the fact, like, yeah, ran past me, and then I freaking tore ass back home and never looked back.
Well, what if that's the best description he can give is ran past me, and like he actually did see it 3 feet away at the passing point, and it was him, Like,
right.
What if he saw it crystal clear and it was him, which is super freaky.
Yeah, that definitely is freaky.
So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. Weird Halloweenus.
Halloweenus.
Halloweener.
Aye.
All right, guys. Sporpus.
A little bit of sporpus for you.
A little bit of sporpus. We'll catch you guys soon.
Mm-hmm.
Here on Halloween Madness.
Halloween Madness 2020.
Sporpus.
Sporpus.